Good evening. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. We're about to get started here promptly. We're about to get started. I'm letting the last few in right now. I hope that you all have been looking forward to this as much as I have. Um, and you all sent in some fantastic questions. So we're going to talk about that here in a moment. I am going to. All right, here we go. So here's what we're going to do. So we're already recording. What I'm going to do, I'm going to spotlight my uh, side here so that you all aren't on camera. But if you have questions, make sure you drop those in the chat. And so we're going to go ahead and begin now, just so that we can have an opportunity to address as much as possible, because you all did have some really good questions and we're going, like I said, we're going to address those. So let me go ahead. All right, so here we are. It is Monday, June 23rd. We're 2 weeks after class. And so what I wanted to do really quickly was just to get some feedback, to ask some questions of you all. So there are 4 questions that I want you all to answer. You all should see that right now, just for the follow-up. So if you all would just answer those questions in the quiz that you should have received, in the poll that you should have received, because I want to see where we are before I continue, because I want to know what your opinions are, what your feelings are, what you've done, what has worked, what hasn't worked. Because here's what I do remember. I remember 5 days of a lot of stuff, right? I remember 5 days of a lot of information. I remember 5 days of overwhelm, and then the speed at which we shared. Now, I want to begin by saying that this is going to be recorded, so you all are going to receive a link to the playback, because we asked in class, did we want to record this or not? And you all said yes. No one opted out. So therefore, we're going to make sure that all of you have the information that we cover here today. And I want to remind you all, drop the questions that you have into the chat, because I will be going back looking at that so that we are aware. We have about I would say almost 15 pages of notes and information based on what you all wanted over the past 2 weeks. I've gotten a number of questions. So we're going to look at some of the poll questions or responses. So some of you, or most of you, have implemented some, right? At least something that you've learned from class. Some of you have had some type of success, and so that is good news. The next thing, what has been your biggest challenge? Finding time to work on our business. So between that and procrastination, right? Knowing that we should get started, but we just have not taken those steps. Those are going to be our challenges. So we're going to address those. And then I see that we're just about 58 to 42% have you identified your specific niche. And so as we're going through tonight, remember, we're going to be here the same time next week. And if you can't make it next week, I'm going to encourage you all, you're still going to get the recording. Okay. And so make sure that you watch that. But then more importantly, after tonight, make sure that you share this link with someone, one of your colleagues, one of your friends. They can get on, or you can just share the playback with them. So that's going to be important. The first thing that I want to just go ahead and address, we're going to look at those poll results here in a moment again. But the reason we're here, here's what our goal is. Our goal is to build a business that attracts so we don't have to chase. Right. And we've talked about that before. We want to have clients finding us so we don't have to chase anyone down. So I want to begin. I have some information that I want to share, but I'm going to begin by addressing some of the email questions that were sent in to us. And so I am going to be answering these anonymously. If you want to put a question into the chat, you can just send it to me directly if you don't want everyone to see it. So you can just send it to me directly, and that way I will address that. I'll pose that question anonymously, and so you don't have to worry about embarrassment or just asking dumb questions. You all know, remember, stupid questions, safe spaces. Same thing applies here, but make sure that you send that directly to me. So the first question that I want to address, we know that we have been experiencing some things over the past 72 hours in the world, right? And the question is, what do we think is going to happen? What's my position on that? And so here's what I know. We know that this is going to add some uncertainty to the marketplace. This is going to add some uncertainty, but here's why it's going to add some uncertainty. Not because it's going to directly impact our businesses, but just because it's being talked about by everyone. That's why it's going to add uncertainty. So now what has happened with the governments and the countries and who's in and who's out and what actions and who's dropping what, that's going to add more chatter. So now many of your buyers and sellers are going to be distracted by what they hear, and it's going to not have anything to do with them or their decision making. It's going to have to do with their attention. Okay, so the greatest currency that we have today in 2025 is currency. It's not, I'm sorry, is attention. The greatest currency is attention. It's not time, it's not all of that, it's attention. So your challenge today and going forward is, how can you recapture those people's attention? Right? Do I think it's going to have an impact? Yes, but not because of uneasiness in marketplaces, because now we're going to spend more time focusing on those things that have no direct impact on buying and selling. Your position, your job, your responsibility as a decision maker, as a leader, is to help your clients, help your customers refocus. And so here I have on my notes, there are 3 words that I want you all to write down, and it's going to help us as we go through everything tonight, because this is going to be for you and it's going to be for the clients, customers, prospects. Clarity, focus, concentration. Clarity, focus, concentration. Whether we're building our business, whether we're talking about the business model that we're going to use, implementing strategies, or attention, it has to go to clarity, focus, and concentration. We're going to keep coming back to those pieces. So I want us thinking about that right up front, so that as we go forward, you're going to hear clarity, focus, concentration a lot tonight and even next week. And if we can hone in on those. So even before we continue, I want to share with you all something that I received about a week ago. And the reason this is important is this is before all of the uncertainty, before things happened this past week. So for those of you who asked the questions, what are my thoughts? What do I think is going to happen? I want you to see my screen right now. And this is coming from one of my very close friends and colleagues. He shared with me talking about the Middle East, global property investments. So they knew about the uncertainty. They knew about the tensions that were in the Middle East. Now they're talking about Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Qatar, all of this, Riyadh. But I want you to see that there are still going to be opportunities. Even when you start asking yourself, you're saying, okay, well, is what's happening in Iran, how is that going to impact us? So here's what is important for us. Remember, we have to find the opportunities in the realities. That has not changed in the past 72 hours. Find the opportunities in the realities. So as things are going, now here's what I'm going to ask you. Remember, what do we not talk about? We know compensation. We don't talk about that. But then we don't talk about religion and politics. But what do we have to be aware of? Religion and politics. So we're seeing the political thing play out even right before our eyes. And that's going to be very important for us as we move forward. So that was the first thing that I wanted to share with you. But here's where I want to go. As we build these businesses that attract so we don't have to chase, there are a couple of things, because I'm going to talk to us since we have tonight and we have next week. I'm going to give you more homework than you all already have. Okay. And I know you're like, son of a gun. I see Jenny right now. She's got that smile like, dude, you're killing me. I see Dino. He's like, ugh. Okay. Here's the first thing. If you all, and this is just to help us send messages to everybody. So you all cannot send messages directly to me. Let me see here. Okay, so I tell you what, if you all want, if you have questions, I'm going to put the easiest thing to do since we have that. The easiest thing to do is going to be to just send me a text message. Let me turn my sound off, and then I'll just address the text messages as they come in. So you can just text me. That's how you can send it directly to me, and you are protected. Your reputation will be intact. So the first thing I'm going to ask you all to do, go back in that first email with all that stuff in there. If you have not gone in and started taking that Elite Client Attractor course, I'm going to encourage you to do that, because here's how. If the goal is for us to build a business that attracts so we don't have to chase, that's going to be a key. Many of you have not only started but completed it, and I want to say thank you for trusting me with your time and with your attention. I believe you're going to be better for it as you go through the workbook and as you work your way through that entire process. The next question that we have is, how are we going to be able to educate clients or customers accordingly? Specifically, if our buyer persona are international global clients from different countries. And so we'll talk about how we educate them here in a moment. And then we want to talk about what if we're going to write a book, international clients, customers. We're going to talk about that in a moment as well, because that's where we start building authority. Everything we look at tonight is building authority. And so remember, we talk about authority. First part of authority is author. Both of them come from the French word auteur, right? Which means to command, to dictate. Right? So we want to come from a position of authority, and then that's going to move us further along in the process faster than our competition. So I'm going to encourage you, take that Elite Client Attractor course. Use VIP 25. I believe there were 9 spots available. If you've already in, don't get in again. I think there were only 9 of the 25 that were still available. So you all get in there, take advantage of that. Next, if you have not subscribed to YouTube, subscribe to the YouTube channel. We've got a really good content coming out on Tuesdays at 4 p.m. And then throughout the week, we have some shorts coming, and then some additional bonus stuff from some other activities that we are sharing. Okay, so now here we go. Where do we start? Because that was a big issue. It was not knowing where to start. It was not having time to work on your business, and then procrastination. So the very first place we're going to start is with you. And so if we don't have time to work on our business, or finding time, it does not mean we have a time management problem. It means that we have a priority problem. Okay. And so I'm going to ask you to list your top 3 priorities for today and for this week. So typically we start for the week. What are your top 3 priorities for the week? Okay. Nothing happens until you know what your top 3 priorities for the week are. So what I'm about to do, I'm going to show you all my ideal weekly or my daily activity worksheet. So I still use a piece of paper, and I use a lot of them. Every day I have a folder, and I am writing down my top 3 priorities right here, and I'm just going in, making sure that they are all done. Nothing happens until priority number 1 is complete. So I'm about to show you all the worksheet that I use, and then I'm going to send you all this worksheet. Okay. I have everything I'm going to show you all today. I'm going to send it to you all in one email. So I don't want you thinking you have to recreate. I don't want you all worrying about the creation process. I want us focused on the implementation process in the beginning. So the very first thing we're going to do is, even before we start looking at our priorities, we have this thing called our pillars of success. And so these are our core values. So I'm going to share my 4 pillars of success with you all. And with these 4 pillars, I'm going to ask you, do you have your 4 pillars or 3 pillars or something? Do you have your pillars of success? So when I come in, here are my 4 pillars. Everything that I do personally and professionally runs through these 4 pillars. Okay. So my first thing is going to be excellence. So everything we attempt to do is going to be done with a spirit of excellence. So everything we do is done with the spirit of excellence. We either do it with excellence or not at all. So excellence, then service over sales. We focus 100% of our energy on providing world-renowned service to everyone at every stage of every transaction. And so I want to be the standard which everyone else is measured by. Now, these are my pillars of success. They might not be yours. But the reason we're starting here, remember we talked about clarity. Once you get clear on what your non-negotiables are, that's what this is. My non-negotiables are excellence, service, leadership. Everything rises and falls on leadership. We encourage and commit resources to the development of leaders. That's why we're here doing this right now. This is why I gave you all my contact info, why we scheduled this, why I created the Elite Client Attractor course and gave it to you all for free. Not because I want people to follow me, but I believe in leadership. I know that Morgan mentioned her growing and how her goal to be the best because people need us to show up as leaders. This is one of my core pillars of success. And then growth. You all are here right now because you believe in growth. That's why I read. That's why I write. That's why I create. Because if we aren't growing, we are dying. I firmly believe that. Okay. So one of your homework activities is going to be what to create your pillars of success. Do you know what your 3, no more than 5, no more than 5, no less than 3? What are your values that are non-negotiable in personal and professional life? And we want them to overlap. Because if they overlap, that's going to add authenticity to the business that you're building. If they overlap, that's going to add credibility. If they overlap, it's going to create a sense of ease of living and working. Because if you try to have 4 pillars for personal life and then 3 for professional life, and if they don't overlap, you're going to find yourself having to switch, and then you'll become emotionally tired. But more importantly, people will think that you're being fake. They'll say, well, that's not who she really is in real life. He doesn't show up like that in business. That's just his fake business voice, right? So we want to make sure that we have our pillars of success. Now, don't forget, if you have questions, just make sure you shoot those to me via text and I'll check those in a moment. So we have our 4 pillars or whatever your pillars of success are, but now we're going to move to what I call our sales predictability triangle. I know I'm moving fast, but this is going to be recorded and you all can slow it down, pause it, replay it. So this is going to be the sales predictability triangle, because what we're doing tonight is I'm going to throw everything at you. Then you all will have better foundation of what questions do I send him before next week, and then we will answer those questions. Okay, so this is not just about your global business. If you do all of this, this is the foundational piece to build that empire on. Where do we get started? How do we find time? All right, so we know our 4 pillars or our pillars of success. Then we come in and with our sales predictability, this is going to be one of those keys, because the question was, Neal, what does your business model look like? And this is the first part of my business model that's going to help every other bit of my decision making once I pair that with my pillars of success. So I take my sales predictability and I put it and I layer that with my pillars of success. And this is what it looks like. So now, once we come in, and I did have someone ask me, what does So this is my mug that I take to Panera. People were asking, well, Neal, what's the mug that you take to Panera? This is the one that I'm sitting down in Panera Bread with on 17th Avenue. Okay, so now let's look at this sales predictability triangle, and you all are going to start to see the actual pieces come together. Here's my sales predictability triangle. So number one, the first thing I have is going to be what my goal is. What is the goal that I have? Now, this is our annual sales goal. You can put whatever your goal is. Maybe your goal is going to be the number of families or number of transactions. Maybe it's going to be number of or dollar volume like we have. And what I'm showing you all is real life stuff that we use in my brokerage that I'm putting in front of every agent. So the first thing, what did we talk about? Clarity, focus, and concentration. Clarity, focus, concentration. This is so clear that a 5-year-old can tell a 5-year-old what my goal is. It's $100 million in sales volume. Now, if you're a single agent, you figure out what your goal is, okay? If you're a team, if you're a broker, and then make sure you have clarity on that you're solely focused on your goal, and then we're gonna concentrate on these next pieces. So what are your core values? You'll see that my first 4 are going to be my pillars of success: excellent service, leadership, growth. Those are my 4 core values that also create my 4 pillars. But then after that, and this is where you all will start to see that I embody my core values, and then everyone who's associated with me, whether it's going to be my agents, my affiliate relationships, or even my clients, they're going to have to embody some part of this of these core values. So then we have excellent service, leadership, growth. Then we go into sales success. I command or require all of my associates to be articulate. They must have a passion for real estate. We have to dress decently or actually well dressed, proactive, real estate knowledge. They must be confident and then have character, right? Now, so only my first 4 are in order. After that, from sales success to character, you can have more of some and less of others, but you must have the rest of those core values in order to be affiliated, to be a part of this thing that we call world renowned. So yours might say, what are your core values that you want to embody if you are a single agent? All right. Then we're coming down here to behaviors. So now we have clarity. Remember, clarity, focus, and then concentration. Our clarity is here with 1 and 2. And now our focus are the behaviors. What are the behaviors that are going to help if I put my behaviors with my core values? What's going to help me achieve my goal? For me, probably no surprise, networking, prospecting, negotiating, and marketing. Those are the 4 behaviors that I focus my business on. This is my business model, okay? Know, be very crystal clear on my goal, know the core values, and then what are the behaviors that I'm going to spend almost all of my time doing. This right here, ladies and gentlemen, is where I spend 80 to 85, maybe even 90% of my time. Networking, prospecting, negotiating, and marketing. If it is not here, it is not a DPA. So really quickly, are you all familiar with the term dollar producing activity? So dollar producing activity, so DPA or ICA, income or IPA, income producing activity or dollar producing activity. So everything we do, we want to focus on dollar producing activity or income producing activity. And so if it is not an income producing or dollar producing activity, we have to ask, should it be, this is the 3D. So should it be deleted? Should it be delegated, or should we double down? Okay. So once again, income producing or dollar producing activity. Once you decide where it is there, you ask, do we delete it? Do we delegate it, or do we double down on the activity? Okay, so I double down on my networking, prospecting, negotiating, and marketing. That's where I double down, put all of my time, energy. Okay, if it's other than that, some of my admin stuff, that's where I'm going to delegate that out to different people. or I might have to do it myself, but I might do it at a time when that's not the high dollar producing time frame. Okay. Other things we're going to delete. Some of us are really good at doing things that we should not be doing at all. So income or dollar producing. Once we know that, we're going to look at the 3D system. Do we delete it, delegate it, or double down? Okay. And so I wanted to share that with us before we continue. All right. So now that we know what our what our behavior, so we've got clarity, focus, and concentration on our behaviors. Now we're going to come up and look at the metrics. So what are we measuring? So my business model, I'm really only measuring, you know how we hear about the key performance indicators, the KPI. Well, we have a different definition for KPI, but we're going to look at the metrics. When people ask, Neal, how do you know how well your business is doing? I'm not looking at a full profit and loss spreadsheet. I'm not looking at a whole list of things. I'm looking at hours prospecting, the number of appointments that I set, how many signed agreements, whether buyer agreements or marketing agreements, or what you might call listing agreements, and then the number of pending sales. And so this is I'm going to show you all what this looks like after we go to our daily activity record, okay? And that's going to be the key. So I want you all to see the big picture here, and we're starting with those pillars of success. What are the non-negotiables that we have? Then we move to our sales predictability. We've got this big goal in front of us, and then those core values. We're going to know what our activities or behaviors are, and then we're going to look at what are we tracking on a daily basis that's going to get us, because these right here are going to either help us get here or they're going to hurt us. Okay, if we're not doing this, we're going to start saying, are we hitting our goal? No. Are we coming in? Where are we missing this right here? If we're doing all of this, we might have to go back a little bit further and look at what? Our behaviors. If we're doing our hours prospecting, appointments, signed agreements, and pending, and still not hitting our goals, we're going to have to come back here and say, well, maybe we have our 80-20 or 90-10 off. If we're doing this, then we come back here and look at our core values. If we have our values in place, that means that we have the wrong goal. Okay, so we're going to work it forward and backwards. And if you have questions about this stuff, I know this is high level, but we're going to get into the actual granular part here in a moment. So once we know our metrics that we are going to track on a daily basis, then for me, it goes into visibility. You all heard me in class. I believe in sharing publicly to hold each other accountable. So we have a master dashboard. So my agents know that at any time we can go in and look and see how many hours have you spent prospecting? How many appointments do you have? How many signed agreements? How many pendings? And it's not to shame anyone. It's so that I know where to train. If you're really good at doing your prospecting, but you aren't getting the appointments. Maybe you're doing the wrong type of prospecting. Maybe you're hitting the wrong people. What if you're setting appointments, but you're not getting any signed agreements? Could it be that your dialogue could be a little off? It could be that you're not skilled in handling objections that we'll talk about a little bit later. And then for accountability, on Mondays at 8:15, we're having our weekly call. And I'm asking, hey, I see you've done this much prospecting or didn't. You had this many appointments, no signed agreements, no pending. Where is that coming from? How does that work? Okay. So before we continue, I want to know, do we have any questions? Any questions about that part there? Just looking at the sales predictability triangle. I know it's a lot. And I do want to say, I owe about 4 of you some activities. I owe about 4 or 5 of you some stuff from me. That is still in the works. You will have that by the end of this week. Whether it is going to be contacts or maybe some research sources and information, you all will have that by the end of the week. Just to make sure, or just so that you all know, we've had a lot of opportunities come up in the past 2 weeks, and they were too good to pass up. So I hope that you all will charge that to my head, not my heart, but you will have need or ask of me before the end of this week. All right, so we're good. We're going to continue. We've looked at our pillars and we've looked at the sales predictability. I do want to know, have we all set our income goals? Do you all know how to go through the agent goal worksheet? I'm going to quickly look at this because some of us have goals, but we don't know how to actually check to make sure that we are on track or aren't on track. So we're going to quickly look at that piece, and then we're going to get to our daily activity record. So now this is where we go from our sales predictability triangle to our agent goal worksheet. So for me, I'm encouraging all of you to create, and I do have a version of this that does not have my company logo on here. So I will get this out in the email to you all so that you can work this as well. But all you're doing, this goes back to now that metrics piece, right? Because you're going to say, well, here's my income goal. If you have a company cap, you'll put that there. And then you're going to put your income goal and then divide it by each commission or compensation that you typically get, your average compensation. That's going to tell you how many closings you need per year. And then it's going to work you all the way down to the number of contacts that you need per week. That's what we need to know. When someone asks you, what is your number? That's what I need to know. When I say, what's your number? How many contacts do you need to have per week in order to get this right here, or whatever your company goal or your dollar income goal is? If you don't know this right here, you're probably never going to consistently hit this right here. Okay, so I know that I need to have X number of contacts so that I can have X number of appointments. If you don't know your conversion ratios just yet, now some of us might know our conversion ratios. If you don't know your conversion ratios, let's begin just by leaving these numbers in here. This is the average, and we don't like the word average because we don't be average, be world renowned. We know average is a 4-letter word, but to start with, we're going to leave these averages in here. And these averages come from agent research for more than 20 plus years. And so they're updated every 2 years. And so this is the most current averages on conversion rates from contracts to closing, listing agent or loyalty agreements. So this could be seller, like listing agreements, or it could be buyer broker agreements, consultations, appointments. So you want to know how many contacts you have that you need each week. And then you're going to go back and ask yourself, have I hit my number of contacts based on, and have I gotten to my number of appointments? So me, I skip the contacts and I go straight to this number right here, number of appointments per week. Did we hit our number of appointments? If not, we have an issue. And then I'm going to say we have to generate leads. Okay. So any questions there, put those in the chat or hit me on the text. So I'm seeing nothing right now. So we're going to keep rolling. Okay. So now we have our pillars of success. We have our sales predictability. We had this goal worksheet. For some of us, we've never done a goal worksheet to work through to see how many appointments, how many contacts we need. And here's what I'm going to tell you, ladies and gentlemen. For some of you, when you see the number of contacts that you need per week, you're not going to want to put the work in. That means that you're going to have to change this. Okay. Or you can improve your conversion ratios, but only one of two things can happen. You can either get better at conversion or you have to have more contacts. And we'll talk about that here in a moment. But this is the daily activity record. Now, this is what I use every single day, Monday through Friday, right? And I'm 20 years in. The date, and then I'm circling the day of the week. Today I circled Monday. When am I prospecting? So you're asking, well, how do I know the number of hours that I spend prospecting? Because we're going to track it, right? And so this is where if we cannot track it, if we don't measure it, we can't improve it. So I want to consistently improve. So I need to know how I did on what day. It's going to let me know which activities are going to be better on certain days at certain times, because I've been tracking this stuff for 19 years, ladies and gentlemen, right? So this is where I'm going to do my calls. I use the slash. I'll just put an X here if I called. If I called and no one, and if I left a voicemail, I'll put a call and an X. I'll put an X here. If I spoke to someone, I will put a circle. Okay. And if I scheduled an appointment, I will put a $sign on top of that number. So I might have call, no answer, left voicemail, I might X, spoke to someone here, set an appointment, that will be a $sign on 5. Right? That's just a system that I use. So at the end of my prospecting time, I'm going to put how many dials did I have? How many contacts? Did I get a lead? Was it a buyer or seller? So if they say, yes, I'm interested in buying, but they don't set a buyer or seller consultation, I'll put a B on top of that number. I'm going to put an S without the $sign if it's a seller, or you might do an L for listing. You might do an M for marketing, right? And then I'm coming in and for buyer appointment or seller appointment sets, that's where I'm going to know exactly how many calls I made in this time frame. Now, you're probably asking, am I talking calls? On this, I am specifically talking about phone calls. Okay. You might do text messages, you might do video, you might talk about email. I want to know how many calls I'm making, because for me, it's still a chance for me to get in the game. Even and whether it's speaking, instructing, coaching, or being a broker, calls are the most valuable way for me in my business when it comes to being proactive, okay? Then I'll have my summary here. And so now we're starting to see this is how we track everything. This is how we actually know where we're getting or the activities that we are doing. Give me one moment. Okay. All right. We're good. So now I'm going to track. Remember, we talked about those 3 priorities. Every week, I'm putting my priorities here. And so I'm putting my priorities here. And then this is also going to be my daily priority. Okay, my daily priority. So I'm going to make it A, B, or C. No B should be done before an A. Okay, so for me, my weekly priorities are going to go from sheet to sheet until it is completed. What you'll find is that on Sunday night, typically I'm doing my Sunday planning. I'm putting my priorities in for the week right here. And then I'm going to say, yes, this is a high priority on Monday morning when I start at a specific time, right? If it stays on my sheet Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I have to reevaluate, is it really a priority? My activities schedule is going to be here. So this is how I'm making sure that I hold my time. We talk about clarity, focus, and concentration. So I know I'm getting started making phone calls at about 9 o'clock. But my 8 o'clock, this is where I might send my social media. I might record some videos, do some one-off videos. But now I know between 8 and 8:30, I'm doing an activity. 9 to 10 or 9 to 10:30, I'm going to be doing my prospecting, and I'll be tracking that. And if someone on a phone call or text message, email comes in, I'm just putting that information right here in my results, opportunities, or issues that I have to address. So when I'm speaking to you all and you're asking me, Neal, I need this information from you, I don't try to remember it. If you all text me on a Thursday, I make sure that I'm putting that here in one of my colors. I'm just a nerd, you all already know. I might be using blue, green, red, and if it's red and urgent, I'll write that in my red pen. If it's blue, if it's green I use for my money making activities, okay? So I'm putting my results, opportunities, issues here, and then that way I know to follow up or to input those into my CRM. Now this next piece, this is where we look at our follow-up and email. So I'm using my email follow-up and text message follow-up right here. Okay, so I am not using my follow-up in the same place as my prospecting. I want to be proactive. Remember, when we talk about here, proactive is one of my core values. So when I'm using my prospecting, that's a proactive activity. Anything else is going to be a follow-up call or email. Okay, and I'm doing the same thing right here. /X circle L B $S, something like that. And here's where, ladies and gentlemen, this is where we track our things that go onto our master dashboard. So my agents, they're going to have to send this in on a daily accountability piece. Now, you get to decide what you do with it. I am going to encourage you to find an accountability or success partner that you can share this with. So at the end of each day, whenever you close shop, fill it, scan it with, I just believe in doing Google Drive. So I'm using Google Drive, scanning it, and then I'm uploading it into my folder. Every one of those that you see here in the paper is going to be scanned into my folder for my accountability partner to look at. And so my agents, they're going to send this. And so now I can see how many calls they had, how many actual contacts, and then face-to-face. Why do we want this for today? If we can't measure it, we can't improve it. I might know that if they're making calls and not getting a lot of contacts, maybe they're calling at the wrong time. Okay, maybe they're calling the wrong people. Now, it might not be calls for you, it might be something else. And then this is where we look at our how do we get paid, right? Because ultimately, are we on pace? Are we on track to hit our goals? Today, how many listing or buyer agreements did we have signed? How many offers did we put out? How many pendings did we have? And then how many closed? So you see we have that for today, the month, and then the year. The number of transactions, the number of offers, the number of agreements signed, and then the number of pendings. Then we come in and put the dollar amount. If you had marketing agreement signed for 300,000 today, but then that brings you to 2 million for the month, that's a great thing. We're going to compare. What does your month look like to your year when it comes to listing agreements or marketing agreements? But then what does the month look like in agreement signed to pending? Why do we care about this? Because this is where we're coming in and looking at these metrics. We don't only want signed agreements, we want pendings. And then when we come and look at the daily activity record, we're going to add how many we closed, right? So I do want to pause right here and ask, does anyone have any questions about this part? Does anyone have any questions? So, where and how do you acquire data, contact info to do the daily calls? So I'm going to show you all how I am, where I'm getting my information from, and then I will give you all some opportunities as well, or some questions. Okay. So let me come here. So you all see that's how we're going step by step, right? We have the goal sheet. And now when we do the daily activity record, this is where we start really asking ourselves, are we doing the activities? Because if you go down to the bottom and you see that you did not make any contacts, you did not have any appointments set, that you aren't getting any buyer or listing agreements, then we have to go back and ask the question, are we doing the right thing? And then the question that I'm being asked is, well, how do we find the people? Number one is we want to attract people. So let me see here really quickly. Okay. The best way, and here's what I am going to encourage us to do. There are a lot of different ways to find people to call daily, right? So number one, and so just so you all see, so this is my daily, so these are my pillars of success. This is my daily or my sales predictability triangle. I have it taped to my wall over here so that I'm always looking at this, so I always know, right? Those four, and then this here. So the question is, where do we find these people? There are a lot of ways to do it. You could buy a list. You could cold call. Now, here's what Uncle Neal is going to tell you. I personally do not believe in cold calling. That's me. I don't. You all make the decision. Okay. So I'm going to encourage you. One, start with who you already have. This right here in our phones, you have a list of thousands of people. I know us. Now, you might not know, but 6 of them. But you have people in your phone. I am willing to bet right now that in your phone, you probably have $300,000 worth of commission right here that we have not utilized. And here's how I know, because every year I do this, and this accounts for a big part of my business. I just go through my phone and I say, hey, this is Neal. I have your number. I don't remember you, but I have your number in my phone, so you must be important. Can you tell me where we met? I sell real estate. This is what I do. I help sellers sell, buyers buy. Sellers make more money, buyers keep money in their pocket. Could we have met professionally? No. I love playing golf. I love fishing. I love reading books. Could we have met at Panera Bread? No. Well, could you tell me something about you to help jog my memory? Right? And so that's a way. That's going to be the best place to start. Start with those people. And here's what's uncomfortable, or here's what's unusual. We are uncomfortable calling people in our phone. We are more uncomfortable calling people in our phone that we haven't spoken to than cold calling people that we don't know, right? And so I'm going to encourage us to start with the names and numbers in your phone. If you start there, that's going to be 3 to 4 months worth of calls, I can promise you. And here's why I can promise you it's going to be that many. Because we have to call on average 8 times before we get someone to answer, and 10 times before they are interested. But the problem is we make one call. 73% of the time we make one phone call, right? But then almost 80%, 79% of the call or the transactions happen after the 7th or 8th contact, right? So I'm going to encourage you, call your people at least 8 times. If they say, leave me alone, thank you, right? So I want you all, there we go, Dino, the 80-20 rule, right? It just works. So I need you to call the people in your phone. That's going to be the first place that we find people, all right? Just so we're clear there. Okay. So the next thing, what I'm going to show you is going to be something that we call like productize your service. Okay. And so this is the next way. So the first way, I believe, reach out to the people that you already have in your phone, especially those that you don't know, because then you can delete them. If they aren't interested, delete them. Okay. And this goes back to that delete, delegate, double down. Okay. So I believe in doing that. Now, for some of you, you are not comfortable calling. I want you to get over that, but maybe you're going to be messaging people. Do video messages. I've seen some of you all jumping and doing your video. I encourage you to do that. So maybe your first step is going to be, hey, this is Neal. I have your number in my phone. I cannot recall where we met. I'm sending you a video. So hopefully my lovely face will jog your memory. Send me a response. Let me know where we met or if I should remove you from my contact list. That's it. Right? Something super simple. That's a fantastic way to add to that prospecting opportunity. If you don't want to make the phone call, do a video, do a text, because that's going to be a way for us to really get our numbers up. Okay. So the next way that you can do is to create some type of magnet, right? So for me, I create a "Are you ready to sell" score sheet. Right. And so there are a lot of ways you can do this. You can do this with you can do like Google Drive. No, Google Sheets. You can do it with Google Sheets. You can create one of these. I use what's called Score App. And I will share that with you all at the end of or in the email. But I'm using what's called the Score App. And so what my Score App quiz looks like. Are you ready to buy? This is my "Are you ready to buy" score app. And so all it's going to do, let me drop this in the chat. And now check this out. I'm going to drop this in the chat, but this is, if you all complete it, I am not going to call you and ask you to list your home or help or sign a marketing agreement or a buyer agreement. Okay. But all it is telling them 12 questions. So they're going to go through and complete. Do you regularly follow? I'm going to put no. And so I'm not going to complete this, but I want you to see. All this is going to do is going to give me some information on them. And if the answer, and at the end, I've set it up so that they don't put their contact info in until the end. And this is where you'll see name and email are required. If they put their phone number in, I know I'm calling them. right? And then it's going to, if they want the results to see how ready they are to buy or sell, that's going to trigger me and I'll receive an email, right? So those are two of my best ways. Some of you saw that in the email that I use, I always have in my signature line of my email, I always have, is your business ready to grow? Are you ready to work with the fluent clientele? So I'm always putting something out there for people to take a quiz or take a test to see where they stand, where they fall. So the same thing when it comes to my coaching clients, I'm saying, are you positioned to attract elite clients? If they complete the quiz and then I find out they are, I'm going to follow with a phone call. If they're not, I'm going to send them a free resource. So for some of you, your calls might come based on because right now, what are we doing? We're asking for the free CMA, right? Sellers and buyers right now are not responding to the free CMA, right? What they want to do is they want to see how ready they are or what the next step is. So creating something like a quiz. Are you ready? How ready are you to sell your home? How ready are you to purchase your home? And I'm sending that out via social media. I am doing pay per click with that. So it might be on Facebook, it might be Google, but so I'm investing on that side so that I can have people raise their hand and say, hey, I'm somewhat interested, or at least I am going to be willing to give you an email address to get the reports, right? So that's something that I am using. Are we good so far, everyone? So we're 51 minutes in, and so we have some more to get through my 13, 14 pages, all right? So there are 4 things that I want you all. So this is what we call the elite achiever moves. This is what the elite achievers do in real estate. There are 4 moves that we do, and they're going to seem like they're out of order. So if you've been in business, and you have any clients, this is going to be the order for you. If you have not done any business, you're going to move number 1 to number 4. That's it. So the first thing we're going to do is focus on client retention. Keep your client, right? Keep your clients. The people you've already done business with, keep them. That's number 1. So we're not starting with lead generation. We're starting with client retention. If you've served someone, think about the business. How can you keep that client for life? That's number 1. Number 2, we're going to go to lead generation, right? This is now where we talk about building new business, lead generation. Then we're going to talk about lead conversion, because remember, this is where on my triangle, sales predictability triangle, we talk about the conversion rate. So we keep them, or we generate leads, we convert the leads, and then the last one is client ascension. And client ascension is the whole thing of we get them to refer us or to use us again, right? How can we get them to refer us, or maybe be a move up or move down, relocation, second property, right? And so we want to keep the ones we have, get new leads, convert the leads, and then when we convert those leads, we want them to buy more or spend more money, and that might be through a second, third transaction. It might be through referral, okay? And so those are going to be those 4 moves. Keep the customer, or client retention, lead generation, lead conversion, and then client ascension. So Horst Schulze, he's the co-founder of the Ritz-Carlton Hotel Group. Smart, brilliant dude. I've had the opportunity to meet and learn from him. So he says there are 4 primary goals, and these are the same. These are going to align directly with those 4 elite achiever moves. They're going to align directly. Horst Schulze says, number 1, keep the customer. Number 2, get new customers. Number 3, encourage customers to reuse you or refer you. And then number 4, improve your efficiency. If you can keep the customer, get more, get them to reuse you, and then become more efficient, guess what, ladies and gentlemen? We win, right? And that's the goal of our business. So we want to make sure that we're keeping them, getting them, that we are getting them to use us, reuse us, or pay more money. And then we want to become more efficient in that. Are we okay so far, everyone? Are we okay? I know it's a lot. I know that, but that's why this is being recorded. Okay. So here's the goal, because Everything we're looking at so far, whether it's going to be the sales predictability, our goals, the ask is how do we attract more, right, and work less? Because none of us need more stress. Are we comfortable there? None of us need more activities. So here's the goal. The goal is, and this is the big goal, right? Because remember, I wrote here at the beginning, build a business that attracts so we don't chase. That's a sexy goal. That's like, hey, I love the sound of it, but how do we get there? Here's how we get there. Remember, one of those questions in the poll was, have you chosen your specific niche? If you have not, you are behind. Okay, now it doesn't mean that we can't get there. We just got to figure that out first. So here's what, after build a business that attracts so we don't chase, here's what that means. That means that we have to become famous for a few. Your goal is to become famous for a few. And so the question that I read from email earlier, how do we educate our buyers or clients? How do we write the books and do all this? We must become famous for a few. And here's what a few is. I need you to be famous for a few thousand. Like if you could be famous for 2,000 people, right? We don't need 10,000. You don't need 100,000, a million. If you could be famous to 2,000 people, guess what that means? That means you will have more business than you could ever service. Okay. Now the question is, Neal, it sounds great. 2,000 people. How do I become famous for 2,000 people? Here's the number: 7, 11, 4. So 7, 11, 4. All we're going to work on. And so now this is where we get very granular. All right. So we have that daily activity record. So we're going to see who we're going to delete, who we're going to delegate, who we're going to double down with. We're going to know the activities from our sales predictability. We're going to know the metrics that we track. But the goal is to build something that people come to us so that we don't have to chase them. How do we do that? By becoming famous for a few thousand, 2,000. And this is 7, 11, 4. Here we go. I'm going to test us, and I need you all to do this. I need 7 hours worth of content from you. I need 7 hours worth of content. I have to binge watch you. I have to binge read you. I have to binge exposure you. I need 7 hours of content. Neuroscience has proven that if you can spend 7 hours with anyone, you are not going to leave them, right? So the problem is we don't have 7 hours worth of content for people to digest, right? And so this is where I have here that, let me see, where did I put it? Influence, because the whole thing, right, to get people to attract is to have influence with them. And so influence comes from output, not hard work. Many of you work harder than me, but you don't have the influence. Why? I'm just putting out more. I have a greater output. That's why that daily activity record is so important, right? So you might choose what your activities are going to be on Mondays and Thursdays. They might be different than Wednesday, Tuesday, and Friday. But that's why
It looked like the driver's side is tilted.
video, right?
From
The other day,
that
short
software.
form. Why? Because
Huh?
my goal is 7
Huh?
hours of content. It can be blogs,
I
it
don't
could
know. That's what I'm
be
telling you.
video,
You
it
asked
could
me
be
what I saw.
YouTube, 7 hours of content for them to digest you. Okay, we got the 7. The next number is 11. We need 11 interactions with an
How much?
individual. 11 interactions. So that means we've already had 5 interactions. So check this out. So we had 5 interactions just in person, right? Then we had interactions via email. Then when you go on and take the Elite Client Attractor course, that's another interaction with me. So now my goal, and so I want you all thinking about this. When I say you create a quiz for your buyer or your seller, guess what? Interaction. When we have that phone call, interaction. They look at our videos on Facebook, YouTube, IG, interaction.
Then when
Because
the dry,
we
you
must
back it
first
up,
get them
check
to
it.
like us.
You
If they
see,
don't
you
like
hit a
us, they're
curve or
not
you
going to
bent
get to know
something.
us.
That's
If
basically
they
what
don't like
happened.
us and know us, they're not going to what? Trust us. If they don't trust us, they're not going to hire us. If they don't hire us, they can't pay us. If they don't pay us, we don't want them to refer us because we don't want to work with broke people or cheap people, right? So the first step is like. How do we get them to like us enough to get to know us? They must be exposed to 7 hours of content, 11 interactions. And this is where you start building your strategy, right? So those 11 interactions, and then four different locations, 4 different platforms. It could be in person, face to face. Maybe it's going to be on a phone call. It could be on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook. Here's what we know. You have Facebook friends that are not your IG friends, right? Because here's what I know. If you see something on Facebook, you'll think, who can I send this to that's on Facebook? We aren't going to do the hard work to try to say, I need to get this from Facebook to a friend that doesn't even have any social media, because they're our Facebook friends. Those are our IG friends. We have real life friends, right? So I want you thinking, how can you have 7 hours of content? How can you create 11 interactions? And that 11 interactions is going to be the challenge, because each of your 11 interactions must be value driven, right? It can't just be, hey, one, hey, two. No, it has to be, I'm adding value. One, I'm adding value. Two. I had 5 already built in just on the nature of what we were covering, right? Then emails. Some of you, I had different interactions during lunch or after class. And so I add those up, right? And so now 7, 11, 4 different places. So now you're going to have to think, how do I implement that into my business model? Emails, video, social platforms, face to face. This is the business model that I'm using, and that daily activity record. That's where I'm putting everything in there. How many contacts did I have face to face? We have that face to face, and then my contacts, I'm labeling those. Was it a text message? Was it a video message? IG, something like that. I'm putting all of that in. So the goal is to be famous for a few thousand so they can like us, trust us, know us, hire us, pay us, and then refer us. And so I know that's a lot, but that's going to be where we want to go. Are we good there? Can we keep going in this next 29 minutes? And I know we've got a lot of content. Everyone good? Everyone okay? Yes or yes? The answer is yes. I'm saying that. Okay. So now we're going to ask, if we're trying to be famous for a few, and I gave you the 7-11-4 part of it, the 7-11-4, which method do we use? Because there are a lot of things that we could do to 7-11-4. But remember, 7-11-4, for us to have people attracted to us, we want to build authority. And this is how I've built, my coaches, my clients are building authority in the marketplace. Number one, perfect pitch. You must have a perfect pitch. And I'm not talking about your elevator pitch. Here's what I mean by perfect pitch. Can you clearly communicate your value and uniqueness through your spoken word? We, as human beings, we love the spoken word. Even those who don't have the gift of the spoken language, if it's sign language or if it's braille, it's something about the spoken word that is powerful, right? So do you have a perfect pitch? Can you clearly and concisely communicate who you are, who you serve, what your value is? And we can only do that if we go back and if we know who our elite client is, who our niche is. That's why that elite client attractor course, I believe, is valuable, right? So those of you who have gone through that, you're going to say, okay, I know the value that I add. I know who I'm speaking to. I know what their pain points are. I know how to speak their language. I know where to position myself. I know what they care about. So you must have a perfect pitch. Number two, publish your ideas. I need you to publish your ideas. That could be in written form on a blog. Now, when we're talking written form, now here's what I'm going to say. When I say publish your ideas, yes, that means that even with everything going on in the world today, I told you what my opinion was. So if I write a blog, I'm going to say, I believe there are some horrible things going on in the world. Here's why I believe it is going to impact the real estate market. And it's not the reason why you think. It's not because people are concerned about whatever. It's because their attention spans. But now when I publish that idea, that's what I did here with you all. I published my idea. And now some of you are like, that makes sense. Some of you probably disagreed. But here's what happens. Those who agreed with me subconsciously, those are my people. I'm not trying to be everything to everyone. I want the people who identify, who say, yes, I like him, I agree with him. And so therefore, I know that the transaction is going to be smooth. So publish your ideas. And here's what happens. You gain credibility through authoring content. When you author content, and for you who ask, how do we do this? It does not have to be real estate content, ladies and gentlemen. Right? So some of you like me, not because of anything I say about real estate. Some of you like me, hopefully, because of the values that I have or the position or how I think. And it's not necessarily real estate. Some of you just like me because I didn't put you to sleep for 40 hours, right? And so whatever it is, you want to publish your ideas. So this right here, be world renowned, how to kill average, right? All this is a 20-page booklet that tells people how to be world renowned. And then at the end, the whole purpose was to have my website at the back. And so what I'm doing, this is like a business card for me without, of course, without my photo on it, right? And then on the back, what do you see? Now, I'm just giving this out to people. Hey, you know what? I have some philosophies. Here's what I think, right? So if people think like me, then they'll go to the website. When they go to the website, what are they going to see? An opportunity for them to go in and take some of those quizzes, to just like Terry Morrison does when we talk about the kiss, bow, or shake hands, and you go in and do those quizzes, right? The only difference is I'm going to send you the results. Terry just shows hers right on the screen. So for me, if I publish my ideas, my viewpoints, my opinions here or on a blog or on, let me get there we go. Or if it's going to be on a podcast, get that stuff out, ladies and gentlemen. Number 3, productize your value. Create a service ecosystem. So when we productize our value, here's what that means for us. That means that we have those quizzes on how ready are you to purchase or sell. That's what that means. To get a list of the top 5 seller mistakes. And it's not just going to be a PDF. Okay. So you're going to ask them to engage. Why? Because when you get people to engage, they feel like they have a say in the process. They have some skin in the game. So we're not just going to give these are the 5 mistakes that sellers make. We're going to ask, which of these have you done? Which of these 5 seller mistakes have you made? Which of these 5 seller mistakes are keeping you from putting the property on the market, right? Because now you're going to ask those 5 questions, and then you're going to give them a playbook to help them avoid those 5. And so now you've given them a quiz, and once they complete the quiz, the playbook is going to be your value. That's going to be your product. Okay. Instead of, hey, let me give you a free CMA. Not everyone is giving someone a playbook for this thing, a workbook. So I call all of my workbooks or playbooks. So you can figure out what your value, what your system is, or your product. And then raise your profile, become liked, known, and trusted in your industry. How do you raise your profile? Hopefully we've started by going to Canvas Rebel. We've submitted our information on those websites. I'm just curious, has anyone received a response back from Canvas Rebel? If you have, see, look, so Jenny's like, I already got a response. All right, and Sherry did too. So here's what I want you all to do. Ladies, I need y'all to, okay, so look, I want y'all to know that I ain't crazy. Like, it works. And here's the beauty. Now, I need you all to submit the information. Okay, and I want you to craft. And so now that we're going through here, I want you. So when we talk about your elite client, come on, Ed, say, man, I got mine from 2 publications. Let's go, baby. And so this is what I want you all to see. If that works, then will this other stuff work? Right? And so the difference is there are millions of agents who just don't know this exists. So now that you've already, hey, I'm going to be interviewed. I'm going to start raising my profile because I'm going to become liked, known, and trusted in my industry because I'm going to speak directly to my elite client, to my niche audience. And guess who gets to craft the story that is told? You do. This is the stuff that's going to, and I'm telling you, watch what happens the moment you submit the information, once they publish it, and then you share it and you post it. Everyone's going to say, oh my gosh, he's a celebrity. She's a celebrity. Guess what you've done? You started becoming famous for a few. And then you're going to take that and you're going to, like I do, 10 years later, I'm still sharing it over and over and over, and all of my audience still hasn't seen it. So I want you all to congratulate yourselves. If you all congratulate yourselves, if you all have not submitted to Canvas Rebel yet, do it. Your colleagues have already told you it's working. And here's what's wild. As awesome as each of us are, ain't none of us that awesome, right? Like, yeah, Ed said, man, I got 2 publications. So why would it have to be Ed of all people, right? Come on, man. So after we raise our profile, so really quickly, we got to have our perfect pitch. We've got to publish our ideas, get out what's in here and here. Let's get it out. We're going to productize our value by maybe doing the quiz and then giving a workbook or a playbook. Then we're going to raise our profile, and that's going to be Canvas Rebel and the such. And then number 5, create great partnerships. Maintain strategic, mutually beneficial relationships. Maintain strategic, mutually beneficial relationships. So Ed said they want his picture. Oh, well, there goes Ed's credibility, right? They want to get Ed's picture. This is going to go down here from there. So once we create those mutually strategic, beneficial relationships, now that's going to be the 5 ways for us to start attracting, right? And so are we good so far? Everyone okay? Let me check my text. Okay, I got that one. Okay, so the question is, how can I identify and target my ideal client more effectively? That's what we're going to look at right now. Oh, well, first, let me go to another question. So on my website, you all will see the premium positioning challenge. Don't do the premium positioning challenge. So I've got to issue some refunds to some of you. Don't pay for anything on my site yet. Don't buy anything, because this is the foundation. Okay, let's start here. After this, so we've got this week and next week. After that, hopefully you have already done the Elite Client Attractor workshop. That's enough work for 4 months. Between tonight, next week, and the Elite Client Attractor workshop, that's 4 months worth of work. The Premium Positioning Challenge, that's what I typically work or give to or encourage people to buy after they work through this type of content. And then the Elite Client Attractor. That Elite Client Attractor is probably really going to take about 2 months to implement. So you can learn it in 2 days, 3 days, but to implement it consistently, that's where you're going to want to give it about 2 months to let that really work. Okay, so don't buy anything on my website, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. So how can you identify your target market, your ideal client more effectively? This is where we are going to go over to what I call this is part of that elite, elite achiever process. So number 1, this is where how you're gonna identify your ideal client more effectively. So we've got 7 steps right here. And so I believe we're going to hit these 7, and this might be where we stop tonight. Okay. So, and we'll see, because I still have some more resources that I want to give you. I knew we were going to have a lot based on the emails and the questions that we had. I didn't know we were going to have this much. Okay. But number 1, know your market. So, and we're talking about how do you get your elite client, your ideal client. Number 1, know your market. Know your market better than your competitors. That's why we spent so much time on all the stats that we did. You must know your market. And so here's what the goal is. Okay. All right. Everyone give me one moment. Let me see here. So I will answer that question. What did I publish and where? I'll share that here in a moment. So number 1, know your market. The goal of knowing your market is to become the trusted advisor. That's what our goal is. And here's what it means when we know our market. Know the types of architecture, like as real estate agents, we should know the type of architecture, be aware of any interesting facts or trivia. So here's what I do, ladies and gentlemen. I keep these things that I call money books. All these are just moleskin books. So I have one right here for real estate. So this real estate one goes with me everywhere. It's a moleskin small book. I keep some here in my book. So you'll see here, I got some goals in one. But the reason I call these money books is because if I execute what is in my money book, I'm going to make more money. And so when it talks about knowing the types of architecture, be aware of any interesting trivia or facts. In my money book, it talks about everything that I need to know. I told you all that I'm a nerd. So in my downtime, I know that Fort Lauderdale has 30 miles. It's 30 miles north of Miami, largest city in Broward County, built in 1838, first incorporated in 1911, named after Major William Lauderdale, who was born in 1782, right? So I know all of that, okay? And so this is where I'm spending all of my time. I know what the tallest building is in Fort Lauderdale. So when you know your market, you know your market. I know how many units are available at any given time. I know famous people from Fort Lauderdale: Nick Joey Boza, Isaac Bruce, Michael Irvin, Jackie Gleason, the comedian. Okay. The economy information. So this is what it means to know my market better than my competition. That's number one. That's the very first step. Know your market. Number two is going to be leverage your passions. Okay. And this is where we're going to start asking, how do you find your ideal client? Number one, take the Elite Client Attractor course. And I know I'm saying that, it might sound like I'm just saying that to you all. I know some of you have taken it, and you're probably further along than our friends in here, right? So those of you who have taken it, have conversation with some of your classmates. So number one, number two, leverage your passions. And so here's what it means. When we leverage our passions, we're going to have to create two what we call passion avatars. There are two passion avatars. The first one, you're going to create a passion avatar for yourself. Then you're going to create a passion avatar for your ideal or elite client. So your passion avatar is going to help you be more credible. It's going to help you be more reliable. And then it's going to create this sense of intimacy, right? So I shared with y'all, I'm passionate about Thai food. That's one of my passion avatars. So that's part of my passion avatar, right? I love the Japanese culture, right? I am the son of a Navy man, right? So respect, I'm passionate about it. So when you create your own passion avatar, here's what we look at. What are your top 5 passions? What are the top 5 things that you are passionate about? I shared with y'all that my agent Stacy, she loves orchids. That's a passion, right? To the point where she knows every type of orchid, if it's going to survive or die based on which side of the tree you planted on, right? So she's passionate about that. What are her top 5? And then here's the one that I want you all to think. What are your top 5 passions? But then what are 5 experiences that you can share with your client, right? But here's why. Experience trumps interest, because most people who are passionate have had experiences that they can share. So when I talk about Thai food, I have an experience with Thai food, with supak, with sweating coming down, right? And having to get a cloth napkin. So I have an experience. So if you are passionate about a thing, let's say you're passionate about paddleboarding, stand-up paddle. You probably have an experience where you were paddleboarding and this manatee came up under you, right? And so this is where you can ask those questions. And so I want you all to say, well, what are the top 5 experience, or what are my top 5 passions? But then what are 5 experiences that I've had? Because if I know your passions, that's cool. But if you can help me relive an experience and then I can connect with you, that's how you identify your elite client or your ideal client. So for me, it's not just, remember, fair housing box, we're not violating that. I want people who are big on respect, who enjoy good food, who are going to understand this whole thing over here when it comes to maybe the martial arts. So that's going to help us identify our elite clients. So number 1 is going to be know your market. Number 2, we are going to leverage our passion. And then number 3, build a personal brand. I need you to build a personal brand. And I'm not talking about a logo. I'm talking about a brand about you. Some of you, when you signed up, when you came on here today, you expected to see me in a bow tie today, right? That's just one of those, that's the basic. If I would have come on here with a t-shirt, you all would have said, okay, what does that mean? Some of you, or most of you, knew that it was going to be a high energy. Most of you knew I was going to give you way too much information in an hour and a half, right? So I'm going to make sure, everyone, I'm going to make sure that so some of you did not get my emails. So I'm going to make sure that y'all get my emails. Okay. So I'll make sure I address that, and I'll just resend. So everyone, I'm going to, in the next email, it's going to be the first email that I sent, along with the link for today, and the bonus stuff. So you all just be patient with me. Sherry, I know I just keep refusing to send you anything. I don't know why my email don't like you. I just refuse to send you anything. So I'm even surprised you're on the call tonight. Okay. So, number 3, build a personal brand. I need you to build a personal brand. This is what's going to help attract people to you, from the way you speak, the language you speak, how loud you are, how you dress. All of that goes into your personal brand, your passions. So remember, we're going to know the market, we're going to leverage our passion, and then we're going to build our personal brand. Right? What goes into our personal brand? This is where we start looking at our pillars of success, or for success. We start looking at our core values. That's the stuff that's going to go into your personal brand. So you really want to do that. And now, here's what I believe about personal brand when it comes to real estate. Never haggle over commission. Never. That's my belief. I do not haggle over how much I'm going to get paid. I tell everyone I'm more expensive than a car, but not as expensive as a house. I say it all day, every day, right? I'm more expensive than a car, not as expensive as a house. And it doesn't matter if you're talking real estate, coaching, whatever. I'm more expensive than a car, but not as expensive as a house. So they know that when I give them that number, that's my number. I'm not going to haggle over that. And then I just don't negotiate compensation. That's me. But here's why. I built in value in the brand. I built in value in the deliverables on the front end, right? So there's this saying that if people if people pay the highest price, they expect you to be good. If they pay the lowest price, they expect you to be fast, right? So here's what I want people to expect me to be good. So that's why I'm putting my price at the place that I am. So number 4, engage your community. Whatever your community is, this is how you're going to identify your ideal client. I engage with the martial arts community, with the Thai community. I engage with church, with families, with the affluent clientele. That's what's going to help me based on my passions and what I enjoy doing. That's how they're raising their hand. They're saying, I like this guy. There's something about him that I like, I trust, I want to get to know him. I will use him. I'm going to pay him, and then I will happily refer him. So we can, anything that we're passionate about, that's going to help us get involved in our community. If we have kids, like, that's going to be one of the fastest ways for us to get involved in our community. My coach, my second day in under her coaching, she said, if you can get people to give you their heart, they'll give you their money, right? If you can get people's heart, they'll give you their money. Your job is to find out what has their heart, right? If you can get people's heart, they'll give you their money. For parents, most of the time, our heart is our kids. So I am big on kid friendly. I'm just a big clown when kids come around. Why? Because parents are going to say, oh, I like him because my kid likes him. For others, it might be their cars. It might be something, whatever it is, whatever has their heart. It might be a charity organization, right? Now, if you can find multiples that have their hearts, so we give to a lot of charities that benefit kids, right? So now if I can have kids and charities that support, now if you're philanthropic and you're giving and you have a love for kids, now we've just layered this. And then more than likely, you're going to be in some level of affluence or success that's who I want to work with. That's the where I want to be. So they're going to see how I'm dressed. They're going to see me at charitable events, giving to kids. Then they're going to see videos and photos of me interacting with children. That's how they're going to get to like me, trust me, know me, pay me, refer me. Hire, pay me, and refer me. So that's 4. Now, number 5, deliver an experience. You must deliver an experience. Showing properties is not good enough anymore. Doing a marketing consultation is not good enough anymore. The moment that McDonald's had those kiosks and you can order your food and take a table tent and sit down and they brought you your food, Good service was no longer good enough. Now we have to deliver an experience. Remember me, I'm asking my clients every time we show a property, are you ready for what might be your first look at a brand new home? Every time I'm doing that. Why? Because it's part of the experience. I still use disposable cameras, ladies and gentlemen, that I'm giving the kids and the parents when they come to Fort Lauderdale on vacation. And I'm telling them, hey, don't take pictures of nothing that you don't want me to develop. I would love for you to take a picture. If you're here for 3 days, take pictures, give it to me. I'm going to develop them and put them in a nice photo album for you. That's part of the experience. Part of the experience with the families that have kids that vacation here, especially during Memorial Day, or during the summer on spring break. What am I doing? I'm giving them the bucket and all I'm doing is going to Five Below. I'm giving them the sand bucket with the shovel and water guns, and then say, hey, here, go have a good time. These are some of the best beaches in Fort Lauderdale. These are the best times to go. When you go there, you can order food here and they'll have it delivered if you go to certain parts of the beach. That's the experience piece. So we want to deliver an experience. Number 6, respect ethics. Be ethical, right? If you are ethical, your clientele, the ideal clients that we want to work with, they're going to find us, right? So I encourage you in some of your marketing, talk about ethical practices, right? So, hey, unfortunately, unlike many real estate agents, I hold ethics in high regard. Here's what that means. Buyers, that we're going to go through this buyer brokerage agreement. I'm going to explain how compensation works. I'm going to let you know if you're going to have to come out of pocket. If there are any questionable activities, Mr. Seller, when offers come in, I'm going to make sure I bring that to your attention. So we're going to make sure we respect ethics. And then number 7, we have to facilitate negotiations. And negotiations are going to be, remember, the real estate negotiation expert course we talked about. Facilitate negotiations. It might be with your customer or client. It might be between 2 separate sides of the transactions. You might be facilitating negotiations on a transaction that you have nothing to do with, right? So this is where I want us thinking, how do we find our elite clients, our ideal clients? If we go through those 7 steps, we're going to start seeing that our elite clients are going to start raising their hands. They're going to start saying, I want to work with her. I want to work with him. And then they will recognize themselves, they'll identify themselves as clients. We talked about that one. Okay. So quickly, what am I publishing and where? So we have 3 minutes, but I want you also a couple of things that I am publishing. So this one here, like I mentioned, this How to Kill Average, just a quick book. I did this. I think I wrote it, and it's a funky size too, right? That's an ugly size of a book, but I wanted it to be something that was different. And there are no page numbers, right? So one, everything I do digitally or that I do in paper, I have digitally as well. So that's going to be part of it. So I use Issuu, ISSUU, and it's like a flip book. So that's part of it. 4, we have not gotten to the buyer and seller book. I'm going to leave a part of this for next week. But what do I publish? So remember, we talked about ideas. So any thoughts, any ideas that you have, it could be a horrible idea. People love reading horrible ideas as long as you just put the idea out there. So for me, I wrote a book called The Affluent Negroes, right? You guys are like, what? That's edgy. I know, it's just like my personality, right? So The Affluent Negro, 7 Principles for Minority Wealth Creation. But here's why. Because when I am the author of this, it positions myself as what? An authority. It really tells, and what does this do? When I say minority wealth creation, this speaks directly to those immigrants, those minorities coming into the United States, right? But then the beauty is, once you get to page number or to the table of contents, you start realizing that the word Negroes is nothing but an acronym. Network strategically, educate yourself, generate wealth through entrepreneurship, reinforce resilience, own it all, excel everywhere, and serve others, right? So now I've published and just so you all know, we are Amazon bestseller, and we made the New York Times top 200 list, right? So as edgy as it is, it has been done good enough for people. No, Jenny, The book does not have to be real estate. It does not even have to be business related. So for me, I am just passionate about helping minorities create wealth, right? So that's something I'm passionate about. So for me, if it can align with your passion, that's why we want to know, what are your 5 passions? What are your experiences that you have? I share all of that in here, but then at the end, just so you all see, I have my logo right there. Then I have my QR code, right? The reason the QR code is there is, and that QR code, where is it going? It's going to my Blink business card. Because now, if you've gone through 100 and something pages of the book, you either love me or hate me. And then you're either going to want to find out more of what I'm doing so you can support me, or so you can run the opposite direction, right? But then once you scan, what is it going to do? It's going to give you a link or an option to go in and take some of those quizzes, to go in and follow me on those 4 different platforms, for you to watch 7 hours of content, right? Because if I can get you in my ecosystem, if I can get you watching my content, requesting me, friending me on social media, following me, opening my emails, guess what? I know that the likelihood of us doing some type of business down the line, right? Some of you are asking the question about those other programs, but I have to be transparent with you. Don't buy it yet, because we aren't ready for the premium positioning challenge, because there's so much work between tonight and what we're going to do next week that we're going to have 4 months worth of work. Right? And then that transparency, me telling you all, don't buy yet, makes you want to buy it more. And I'm going to tell you, no, I have to send you a refund, right? Because we aren't ready yet, because there's so much stuff right here. Okay. I know that we are at our time. I will make sure. So Jenny, it does not have to be a real estate book. It doesn't have to be business related. Share something, publish something. And it does, look, it does not have to be a real book. It can be this. It could be an ebook, right? Ladies and gentlemen, you can use Chat GPT to create an ebook and put it on issuu, issuu.com, issuu.com. And so you use issue, and all it's going to be is going to be like a flip book, a digital book. Create something, publish something. It can be the buyer seller, whatever you want. But so for those of you who are immigrants, who are minorities, you have an opportunity. And I want you all to see right now, you have an opportunity with everything going in this world, that's going on in this world, to publish a position piece that's just about your perspective. Now, we don't want to violate fair housing, right? We don't want to get too touchy, but you do want to say, this is what I believe, this is who I am, these are my passions, some experiences, these are my core values, these are my pillars of success, and we just do it over and over and over. So we're going to publish it on whatever platform. Then we're just going to share it. So I use Issuu to publish all of my digital content, and then I just share it, and I'm pushing it through. Don't sign up for any workshops. Don't sign up for any workshops yet. And here's why. Because those workshops that we have right now, the elite workshops, the premium positioning, any of that, the one that I'm asking you all to do for the elite client attractor course is, I'm going to resend the email. I'm going to strip out some of the stuff. No, I'm not. I'm going to move that to the top. I'm going to move the elite client attractor to the top. Okay. That's going to be the one. Don't go directly to my website, because what I did for you all is not readily available to everyone. Okay. So Denise, don't do anything on that page until I send you the email. That's where I'm going to want you to go. Okay. So I'll send that to you. Thank you. And don't pay for anything. You're going to go in and you're going to see the option there. Use VIP 25. VIP 25. I'm going to look today. There were 9 spots left when we got on. I think most of you were in, some of you weren't. But if you don't get in, let me know. And so I'll make sure I add one more coupon, but I do need that done within the next 24 to 48 hours. So I can go ahead and close that coupon code out. Now here's what we have for next week. Next week, we are going to answer some of the additional questions that you all have, like things such as, how do I publish stuff to issue, or where do I publish that? I haven't even shown you all the newsletter, the global newsletter that I create. I'm going to show you all an example of that, and I'm using issue to push that through as well. So you all will see what it actually looks like on the flip book. I have these, my pre-marketing books that I create, right? So this one right here, this pre-marketing book that every one of my sellers gets, is nothing but a photo album from Shutterfly. So based on the price point, they might get a paper one, or if it's over 750,000, they get a hardbound book, right? And so that's part of that experience, making sure that it's delivered in a nice box with a bow on it, and a photo of their house, a printed photo of their house, all of that. So that's part of the experience that we talk about. And right now I'm using this as my business card. So by the time I put this, and one of these books in my marketing or buyer book, and I'm sending that to them, I've established myself as an authority. This is how I'm having people come to me, and positioning myself as the agent of choice. Now, we have not talked about the 7 basics of sales success. That's going to be important for us as we go forward. And then we probably have about 45 more minutes of content that I want to share without the questions that you all have already sent. Okay. So after tonight, I'm going to get this video processed. I'm going to get this out to you all fairly quickly as soon as it's done processing. I'm going to resend the email with the link to this, with all of the attachments. No, I'm not going to send the attachments. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put a link to a Google Drive folder with everything, okay? The link for the Google Drive folder, because some of this stuff is going to get to being 10 megabytes and more. So I'm going to put a link in there for you all to go in, and this is where you're going to have access to everything that I do. There's going to be extra stuff in there that we did not cover tonight. For those of you who are hungry and chomping at the bit, go in. Dino, yeah, I know, he's nodding his head. Go in, you can look at everything, and then if you have questions about it, you can ask. So here's what I need. Morgan, I do believe I have your email address, but if you all would do this, I need Cherry, Morgan, Jenny. Would you all text me, please? Text me your email address. If you have not received anything from me, text me your email address. And I'm going to put my phone number one more time. 786-897-4832. 786-897-4832. Text me your email address. You're going to get that. Now, the emails are coming from client care. They're not coming from Neal Oates. They're coming from client care at World Renowned Coaching. Client care at World Renowned Coaching. The reason being, I'm not the one sending the emails. We got, remember, delegate, right? So the delegation is happening there. Any questions, comments, or concerns before we get out of here tonight? I hope that you all found this valuable. I know it's a lot of information. I know it's a lot of content, but I want you to start with the building, right? Ask, what are your passions? Really, 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 more than anything else, I need us to do a couple of things. The first one is really break down and see who your elite client is, who your ideal client. If you are talking to the wrong people, you're not going to hit your income goal, right? And it doesn't matter how smart you are. Some people just aren't going to use you, right? If you're talking to the wrong people, everything that you do with your daily activity, everything you do on the sales predictability is going to be wrong. So you got to figure out who your people are, but then really figure out what your core values are. If your core values, who your people are, your passions, those experiences, all those are going to play together. And I believe that going through that elite client attractor course helps you gain some clarity on that piece. And then you'll know how to use a daily activity record and everything there. All right, that's it. I have nothing else. I love you. God loves you. There's nothing you can do about it. I'll send you all the video shortly. Take care. Love y'all. Bye.